Ooh, glitching a little bit there. Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. This is Paranormal Frequencies. I'm so glad you guys could join us. How are you doing, Sherry?
Good. I'm good.
Tell us who we have today.
Tonight we have Sasha and Dr. Sasha and Janet Kira Lessin. They've written 10 books together and individually. They have several books in the works at all times, and they present and teach on a wide variety of subjects, including Tantra, relationships, counseling, contactees, experiencers, UFOs, the secret space program, paranormal and psychic phenomena, extraterrestrials, aliens, and interdimensionals, ghosts, reincarnations, hypnotherapy at conferences, in Skype groups, webinars, phone and in person, on the internet, radio, books, media, and in growth centers. Janet works with those who channel, who engage in shamanic journey work, or who use tantric ritual to access the superconsciousness. She and her husband and their cats live and love in the Paradise Jungle Retreat in beautiful Maui, Hawaii. And I want to say that I always think about y'all because my grandson, he loves Lilo and Stitch, and it's about these aliens this alien that genetically modifies and makes this other little alien, and then the alien goes and hangs out with this little girl, and it just makes me think of y'all every time that it comes on every day. So I always think of y'all with that.
So welcome to the program, you guys. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Well, thank you for having us on. Aloha.
Aloha, that's right.
I was hoping maybe you could tell us some more, like add on to what I said, because there's so much, and I know that y'all could hit the highlights better than what I did.
Oh, okay. Well, Sasha and I got together in 1997, and we started teaching Tantra together. And so we've been teaching since the moment we met, because we both love to teach and we're educators. But my background, mainly besides Tantra, was about extraterrestrial phenomena. So when I met Sasha, it was like, well, how do I tell them that I'm an ET contactee? That's not the first thing you do when you meet somebody. It's like, hi, especially back in 1997. So I left on the back of the toilet a book called, which one was it? The Gods of Eden by William Bromley, which is like I relate to the Zecharia Sitchin books on the 12th planet and the Anunnaki. And it sat there for a while, and then one day he came out and he goes, oh, do you know what this is? Because he's an anthropologist. And I said, yes. And he says, are there more books like this? I said, yes. So we went down the borders, we bought all the books we could find on Zecharia Sitchin and ordered what books they didn't have in stock. So we started, working on the Anunnaki, ancient aliens. So he started with the ancient stuff, and we both studied with Zecharia Sitchin, and then I start with the modern era because I'm a contactee experiencer. And then we were doing hypnotherapy sessions on me to get, because when in the alien abduction phenomenon, a lot of times you have a screen memory, like you have. I was driving down the road and the giant owl landed in the middle of the road. You go, wait, that's not normal. And so, well, let's look at that episode. What was it? Oh, it's not a giant owl. It's a gray alien. And then you have so we started doing ongoing hypnotherapy sessions, and we utilized Tantra, which helps you to open up your chakras and awaken your Kundalini. And we found that by doing Tantra with the hypnosis, I was able to access, interdimensional portals and travel through time and space and contact aliens on that level. And that's how I think that practice is what opened me to Michael Jackson, which we'll get to after a little bit more of the intro here. So anyway, we started, we had our best friends were Cody and Robin Johnson, and they said, we have this guy we're going to have at our conferences. His name is Zecharia Sitchin, and he's offering a certification program. And we went, wow, we've already started reading him, and I had been reading about Sitchin since the late 70s, early 80s, so I already knew about it. So we were in the first certification Sitchin class on the Anunnaki, and we traveled with the Sitchinites. There were like 200 to 300 of us, and we met in different cities in the mainland. We live in Maui, Hawaii, so we met in the mainland, and we did that until Sitchin got too sick to travel, and then he died in 2010. But Zecharia and Dr. Lessin communicate with each other, and Zecharia said, I want you to create an education program, because Dr. Lessin is a college professor. He taught at the University of Hawaii in Manoa and over here in Maui, so he's been creating educational programs all of his life, practically. So that's what we've been doing. So we've written 4 books. We have a 5th book coming out in the next month or so, and I'm working on a 2nd book on my experiencers. Well, actually, the 3rd book, I have a anthology book with everybody's stories. About 17, 18 people sent me their stories, and so we keep writing. We love writing. We do these shows. We do Aquarian Radio, broadcasting 2 nights on Revolution Radio, and 3 or 4 nights a week we broadcast, and then we do other shows like yours. Okay, your turn. Tell everybody about you. Who are you?
Well, when I was a kid, I heard the story about Noah and how he got these animals on his boat. And I wondered, wow, there must have been a lot of animals within a few miles of his boat. And I wondered how he stopped the lions from eating the zebras and stuff like that. And later on, I studied with Zecharia Sitchin, as Janet pointed out. And I found out, what really happened is that the Anunnaki, who had decided to let the humans die because we were an illegal species, a hybrid. The Federation representative Galzu came down and he told Enki, their chief scientist, gave him a computer program which he put in Noah's wall. The ancient name for Noah was Ziasudra. So because the boss, that's Enlil or Yahweh, said, I'm going to kill anybody who tells the Earthlings about the flood that's coming down. We know that the ice sheet is going to slide off Antarctica, and there's going to be terrible waves and stuff. And we got to get off the island, but don't tell the humans, or they'll mob the spaceport and we won't get off. And I want them to drown. And if anyone disobeys me, I'll kill them. But Enki and Galzu slipped this computer program in Noah's computer, in his wall computer. So he said, I'm talking to the wall, not you, Noah. And so he sent Enki sent his son Ninnigal to guide this submersible. Well, when the commander saw these guys in Sarupik were building this gigantic submersible with bitumen on the seams, he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "We're going to sail down to Enki's place in Southeast Africa." And Enlil Yahweh said, "Oh, cool, let them all die." Enlil is Yahweh. Enki, the chief scientist, is known as, in the Bible, as Lucifer, the bringer of light. But in any case, after 120 days, if they made a great big diorite chamber for all the genetic starts. What is it, honey?
Oh, just back up. You're climbing into the camera again. Yeah. Okay.
And they gave Noah on the boat the things he'd need, like chickens and pigs and things like that he'd need to start things. After 120 days, most of the humans drowned in the Mesopotamia area. They landed on Mount Ararat, and Enki instead of going back to Nibiru, Galzu told the leaders, the Yahweh and those guys, you can't go back to Nibiru because you'll die. You've been on Earth too long. You got to stay in Earth orbit until the flooding's over. Then you can return, but you got to live the rest of your life there. It was a lie to keep them there. Anyway, so Enki is there feasting with Ninnigal and Noah and Noah's family and all the guys that helped him build the boat and everything. And what is it, honey? Okay, anyway, so Enlil comes down. He's, you there, what are you doing here? You're feasting with these guys. They're supposed to all be drowned. I'm going to kill you. But in the meantime, his sister and his brother and his son come down. Hey, no, Dad, don't. We need these people. There's no people left. We have to do the work ourselves. We need these people to breed, and so we don't have to do the work ourselves. So they agreed that Noah's sons, Ham, Japheth, and Shem, would breed a new race of earthlings to serve the humans. And that's when they decided they were going to give us all kinds of civilization. And that's when Sumerian civilization started. And so that's the other story of Noah. And Sitchin accounted for all kinds of things, like how come there was lots of skeletons in this all over South America, way before the anthropologists thought humans were supposed to go across the Bering Strait and down all until they got to Tierra del Fuego at the end of South America. But not at all. What happened is the Anunnaki in their spaceships, they had Vimanas, we would call flying saucers. They took Cain, who was very, very long lived because he was really the son of Enki, and a whole bunch of other East Indians to Lake Tiwanaku area. They had a big spaceport there, and most of the Anunnaki left, except some stayed, and we get a great big war between Yahweh's granddaughter Enlil, or Ishtar, as she's also known, and Prince Marduk, who's saying, I'm going to ally with the humans. I'm going to marry one. The astronaut corps had a revolution in my name. I'm supposed to be king of Nibiru and king of Earth, and I'm going to take over. And Inanna and Yahweh say, oh, yeah, we got other plans. But that's another story. I'll let Janet rap for a while.
You have any questions?
No, that's good. I just wanted to bring up the fact of how I met them, how I met Sasha and Janet Kira. They were being interviewed on a radio program, and I had called in, and they were talking about the Anunnaki, and I had brought up the fact that they had found some busts in some museums of like Michael Jackson and Obama and stuff, and I'd wondered their opinion if they thought that that was real. And then Janet Kira had mentioned that she had channeled Michael Jackson. It became a huge synchronicity for me because everyone in the chat room knows me and my daughter's stuff with Michael Jackson. And so what was really neat was Dr. Sasha had asked me if Michael Jackson had a band on the other side. And I was like, yes, he does. And I couldn't think of the name of it right then. And so I went through my dream journal and everything, and I found it. And I've been wanting to tell him forever that the band was called Anthem.
Wow.
And then that later on it got confirmed for me because Marilyn Hughes had wrote a book and mentioned the same name of the band. So I thought that was really cool.
Oh, I bet it's a hell of a band.
I bet so. But I loved how he had said that because it was so funny. But anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about was if you could tell us about your channeling experiences with Michael Jackson. I'd love to hear what you got.
Okay. So I was in a deposition, which is you're surrounded by lawyers and they're all asking questions. It's kind of like the Salem witch trial. They want to trap you and make you say the wrong thing or catch you in a lie or something. So it's very stressful. Here, just leave that like area. And and then they had taken a break for lunch, and somebody came in and said, "Oh, my! Did you hear Michael Jackson? He's dead!" And so suddenly, this room full of lawyers, all these suits with ties, turned into little boys, little children. They go, "Oh yeah, I remember Michael. I love this song." And so they all were reminiscing. And then someone said, "We got to get back to work." So lunch is over, and they kind of turned it into their suit personnels again. And I was I was up next. And so as soon as I swear an oath to tell the truth and all that stuff, and my heart started racing. And I'm going, oh, what am I going to do? Am I going to die here? Am I going to have a heart attack? Am I going to pass out? I don't know what to do. And then Michael Jackson came in this year and he said, tell them you're sick. Now, I had never channeled Michael Jackson before, and I like Michael Jackson, but I'm not like a groupie. I'm older than him, you know, but I was aware of him, and so but it was like no delay. He said it, and then I just said, "Oh, I feel sick." And since he had been in all those depositions, he knew how to, I guess, work the system. So that was a magic word. So they all packed up their stuff. They said, we'll have to reschedule. And, you know, they emptied out the room and I left and I'm driving home and Michael Jackson's singing in my head. You have like a mind's eye type, ear type thing and I'm hearing him singing and singing, whenever you need me, I'll be there. So I go home and we have dinner and I don't say anything to my husband and we have dinner and everything and I go to sleep and I get up and go to the bathroom and there's Michael Jackson singing to me when I'm going to the bathroom. I guess he's singing the whole time I'm sleeping, but I do fall asleep into my own dream state. And so then the next day I get up and I'm trying to go through the day and I said, honey, and he goes, what? I go, Michael Jackson's haunting me. What's going on? He keeps singing in my head. He won't leave me alone. He won't shut up. So he said, well, let's do a session. So we did a tantric hypnotherapy session. And as soon as I went into this altered state of consciousness, here comes Michael Jackson. He's so powerful that I was laying on my back. I sat up and I leaned forward and I'm just crying. I'm crying for him. He's coming through me and he's so full of pain and he's so concerned that he's dead and he wasn't ready. And it was just sad. And so Dr. Lessin starts doing therapy with Michael Jackson. He's talking through me. But what's happening for me is I'm kind of perched up on like a shelf. So I'm watching everything. I don't disappear like some trance channels. I'm right there. I'm paying attention. And so we did this session with him. Now, when he came through, I could see in my mind's eye, Farrah Fawcett was holding him like from behind, and she was cradling him, trying to comfort him, and he was just inconsolable. And so um, then we were doing a session. She kind of let him go, and he's talking through me, and it went on for what, a couple hours. It just went on and on and on. And then finally, he said, "Well, you know, I'm gonna go now. I feel kind of complete for now, but can I come back?" So we scheduled with him for like next weekend because in the week we worked, but in the weekend we had time to channel Michael Jackson. So we said, okay, we will. And he said, oh, then he left, and then Farrah Fawcett was there because she had just died like a couple hours before, and she taps on my shoulder, and I said, "Oh, Farrah wants to talk." So then she came through, and she said, I didn't know what to do. He was just so distraught, and I'm so glad you showed up. She said, I'm going on. I see my family there, and I'm done. I'm complete. I knew I was dying, and I prepared for it the whole time. She said, but there's all these dead here. They're like trapped in between, and there's Michael, and she asked, can you please learn how to do therapy with the dead because they need help more than living in many ways. So then she moved on. So we worked with him for 4 weeks. At a point, he said he felt complete. I took him by his hand and I flew him around the world to show him. You know, he didn't think anybody loved him because of all the trials. He thought, oh, they're going to hate me. And I said, no. So he was just so comforted by everybody doing the prayer rituals and the candles and the pictures and songs everywhere. He felt really loved, and that's what he needed. He needed to feel that he had done a good job and that, you know, his life was worth it and everything. So after 4 weeks, he eventually he said, I'm not ready to leave the Earth sphere. I could go on. Oh, he did at one point show me my mother and father and Sasha's mother and father. They're on the other side. And they came out of this doorway, which was like, it was in the distance. They didn't get close, but they came out. And I could clearly see that it was my parents And I thought, that was his parents, and they affirmed it. Everything's telepathic, on the other side. You don't have to use words. And so they confirmed it, and they waved to me, and so that was comforting. It was really, I was telling Sai, oh, it's our parents, and they know each other, and they're hanging out together. So that was cool. So then at the end, he said, I'm not ready to leave the Earth sphere. I don't want to go over to where everybody else is at this point. And so, in fact, I found a ship, and he said it was an Anunnaki ship, and he's going to go into it because it was stationed around the Earth, and he's going to go into it and keep observing. So, he might be over there on the other side now, but that's 10 years ago. We're talking about we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary. I don't know the exact date. Do you remember the exact date? Was it
June 25th.
25th?
Yep.
Oh, that's right. It was his birthday. Yeah.
In 2009. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, was that his birthday? No, his birthday is March 29th, maybe. Wait. I'm not sure. I should know.
I could look it up, but so that was it. What was you said that he had a band. Does he have other people in the band that you're aware of? Any?
I think that they more were like spirit guides at the time, like they were trying to assist him.
Assist him. Okay, yeah.
Right. He had a lot of trouble moving away from the Earth because of his children, at first. So he stayed earthbound a lot for a while, like you said.
Oh, he loved his life. He loved Earth. He loved helping humanity. Okay.
But anyway, so I wanted to let Shane ask some questions. He had some.
Hi, Shane.
How's it going?
We're doing great.
Well, I'd heard one of your podcasts, and you guys were kind of explaining what a walk-in is, and I just had someone ask me earlier today, and I was like, or it might have been last night, what is a walk-in? You guys should do a special on it. And I've had someone on that was a walk-in before, but I thought Dr. Sasha could sort of just explain the concept. I mean, can you be a walk-in and not know it, or would you know it if you were, or how does that work?
That's a bit more Janet's field than mine.
I studied Ruth Montgomery, and she said that at times, some people step out, like their life is complete, or they accomplish what they came here for. So they could be a child, and they were just coming to reconnect with their parents, and then they didn't have to stay for a whole life. Anyway, that's my understanding, is that one soul steps out, another one steps in. But I think it might be more like a subpersonality. Like you have and so Dr. Lessin can address subpersonalities. Come over here, honey. So you have a dominant primary subpersonality that's kind of operating one part of your life, and then they might be complete with their mission, and then another one comes in. But tell them about subpersonalities.
Okay. When we have a psychic fingerprint, who we are naturally, and as life deals with us, we develop parts for special functions. For example, when I was a little kid, I used to twist my little sister's foot, and my father caught me and said, "Don't hurt your little sister." Well, next time I went to twist my little sister's foot, I heard my dad's voice in my head. He wasn't there. I said, "Don't hurt your little sister." So instead of twisting her foot, I petted her hair, and we became friends. So I developed this, it's conscience or inner critic that could criticize me before I did something, so to protect my vulnerability, because I really wanted my dad to like me. Okay, so that's how we develop these subpersonalities, and so as we go on, society makes us repress, usually angry or sexual subpersonalities, maybe even our artistic or spiritual ones, or our intellectual ones if we have to play dumb, or if we're if we're being brutalized, we learn how to space out, whatever it is we get. And so that when there's what people are calling a walk-in, or even a contact with the extraterrestrials, there's a part of the person which I call the contactor. I say, I'd like to talk to the part of you that makes contact with extraterrestrials, or with this other personality that takes you over sometime. Is there a part of you with that makes that contact? Would you tell me about that? If it's not safe, you can cut off anytime so that there isn't so that we don't have to go on with this. But if you're willing, would you let this personality that contacts speak? And so that's okay. Part that contacts, when you get out of it, what does it do for you? Okay, would you mind, and would you allow the walk-in or this other subpersonality to come through you? So then we can deal directly with that subpersonality, whatever it is, and just dialogue with it. There's no way, since no extraterrestrials have appeared in my office, and all that I have is a person there who's talking about all these different things. That's all I know, is that there's a person there. And when I say, now move to another seat and embody your inner child, and I see the person talking in a little bitty voice and acting like a little kid, and I'll now come over there and be the critic, but get this kind of thing. Okay, now center yourself. You have a critic, you have an inner voice, you have a walk-in. Now let them all, underneath what they say they want of you, what motivates each of their wants, what do they need? That's the center. And a person who can witness things from your fair witness, how do you coordinate these things given your ecology? It might not be smart to talk about your walk-ins. They might throw you in the clinker, or don't talk about it in the bar, for heaven's sakes. So you have a fair witness, and you have to learn how to center yourself. The way you center yourself in psychotherapy is you embrace the opposites within you. The things inside of you that you have difficulty with are the things that bug you in other people. So you and your old lady probably have things about each other that bug you. Well, that's because you haven't developed those things in yourself, or you wouldn't care.
Okay.
Okay,
But
so that sounds more like kind of like the clinical definition of what we would call multiple personality disorder or something along those lines, or no?
Not a disorder. It's only a disorder if the person cannot access those parts. It's not everybody has many sub-personalities. You're probably a daddy sometimes, and you're probably a pet owner sometimes, and you're probably an out-of-sight driver of a car, and you're it's like roles is another way to think of it. And your roles ain't your souls.
Right. Yeah. So you can have one soul, but then you have all these multiple hats you wear. You
Exactly.
wear one at work or.
yes.
Okay, so I guess what I was talking about was with Aurora from Flying Rainbow Lasagna. That's really the only reference I have. I don't know. Do you guys know her?
Oh, yeah, she's wonderful.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. So the way she explained it is the host body is more like a vehicle. So her physical vessel, she didn't inhabit it until, I guess, around 2000 or something like that. And the person who occupied it before then had a near-death experience and left. And then she came in and took over the body and had to rehabilitate it and go through all of that. So it was almost like they gave up their physical vessel for someone new to take it over. So someone with their, all of their personalities and hats that they wear. So we're just talking about someone exiting their body and someone new coming in and taking over that vessel. Is that not how it works with walking?
I've definitely had
What was that
places where
what was her name? The lady from Canada. We had another lady from Canada, and she came in and she had 3 children, and she didn't know how to be a mother, so she had to. She kept in contact with the our ET guides, and they taught her. She goes, "Well, I don't know how to cook or feed these kids," and there was no husband, and so that was like a complete swap out.
Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering. I know Aurora knows that it happened to her. I'm wondering if someone can be a walk-in and forget, like they go through the veil of forgetfulness and don't realize.
One thing that I've had happen several times is when a woman the mother is pregnant with twins, and one twin either dies in utero or dies soon after, and the surviving twin then acts out or is taken over by the what is it?
You keep crawling in there, and I keep pushing back. Just sit still. Look, he's sitting still.
Oh yeah, we're getting half your face. It's okay though. We're getting
Yeah.
the audio good though. So.
I don't have a camera to move around. I just have.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
anyway,
just sit still.
so that's a really common way. Look, the way phenomenology works is that you take what the person's saying as their reality. You have no way of knowing whether that's anything beyond the reality. Is there's a person there? There's not. I don't see anything walking in.
Right.
They make these different voices and make these different faces and have these different emotions, and you know, they could. It doesn't matter if they believe it and it works for them. Their reality is just as good as any others. You know, I don't even know if I'm here, but you know, it's like what Aurora is a wonderful, healthy human being, raised up in her presence, and whatever she's doing, it works, and I think she's cool.
Yeah, some people can't get their head around why they have like different information, so they have to tell themselves, you know, well, this is that. I think the person I was talking to, they were trying to explain, you know, why their life shifted, but it just could be, you know, other things happening in their life. Aurora could be walking. I'm not here to judge somebody whether they walk in or just have another person coming forward. They're just trying to wrap their heads around what's going on in their lives. But you could just be, you know, a musician one part of your life, and all of a sudden, you know, you just want to be a rocket scientist. And we have these parts of ourselves that come front and center. I'm not the same person I was when I was 5. Neither are you, right?
Mm-mm.
So that's almost like a series of personalities. As we go through life, we keep changing and integrating and putting apart sides that don't work for us anymore. Anyway, that's just.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I've often said that if you took like me a decade apart, I'd probably argue with myself about all my worldviews and stuff. You know, because I'm constantly changing.
Yes, and that's growth. That's you're evolving. If you're stagnant, I would be worried. If you're the same. In fact, that was my second husband's criticism. You changed. I go, yeah. You know, you're not the same person I married. No, that's for sure. Yeah, I've grown.
Well, I wanted to mention for those coming in late that I do have all your links below. There's quite a few. Wow, there's quite a few, and plus your YouTube channel, and you guys do Aquarian Radio. That's what you're doing now. Is that a weekly podcast or?
Aquarian Radio is where I would even put this link here. I put all my shows that we've done. I'm missing a bunch as well, but I try to get as many possible to kind of keep a historical record. But I'm broadcasting about 3 or 4 times a week. I'm trying to get my book done, so I can. Some of it's optional, you know. I don't have to, but I am committed every Tuesday and Sunday to Revolution Radio from 8 to 10 Eastern. So that's our ongoing commitment. And then Aquarian Radio. So sometimes I get people from the UK, you know, Europe, and so I have to set different times and say, okay, we'll come on now, because otherwise it's 3 a.m. for them and they're a little bit tired.
Oh, so, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, we deal with the same thing here. So.
Mm-hmm.
So I did want to kind of just maybe go over some of the things you do, because I see, gosh, you got School of Counseling, Extraterrestrial Contact, which I know our viewers really enjoy and would like to have extraterrestrial contact. Some of them already have had it, and they're just trying to figure it out and everything. Mm-hmm. What's that website about, extraterrestrial contact?
Well, basically that's where I put things that aren't about the Anunnaki. So that's where I put all the stuff with the extraterrestrials. I haven't been working on the sites. I've been negligent, but I put them up, you know, over the years, and I go back and forth with my focus. But what we do is we work with contacting experiencers. We do hypnotherapy regressions. We do support groups. We're available for people to come on our show. What I'm doing is the are you ready to come out of the closet type experiences. And it's a good place because we're psychotherapists, so we can help people when they're nervous. Mm-hmm. And get you started. So I've been doing it a long time, so I'm getting pretty good at it, right? So I've been getting about, I don't know, 1 a week experiencers. They're just everywhere, which is what we originally intended. We knew that a lot more people are having experiences than, you know, we're getting up on stage at the conferences. The conferences are so limited, and they started putting in these support groups. And at the support groups, you get like a minute or 2 or 3 minutes, and it's like, I'm an experiencer and I saw this. So I say, here, come on over, and I'll give you half an hour, give you an hour, give you 2 hours. It depends on how much you think you can talk about. And some people are shy. I'm just going to do a little bit. But some people are like, yeah, give me 2 hours. I've got 50 episodes. So that's what one of the services I do for the world is. And some of those people have gone on, and now I had Aurora at my conference. I did Stargate to the Cosmos Expo in October, and so Aurora was there. I don't know where I found Aurora. I guess I had an application form. I said, you want to present? So people were finding me, signing up, and that's what I like to do. I like to give people a start, and then now they take off. I've launched so many people's career. They're making more money than me. Getting more gigs than I am. They're going all over the world. But it's good. It's good to see everybody, because we're changing. We're changing this paradigm, and we
definitely.
are awakening in awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, creating a safe place for people to feel comfortable coming out and sharing their experiences, which is one of the reasons why I love doing this channel, because everybody's so cool here that it's like people have someone to talk to.
Right. Yeah.
Without being looked at like they're crazy. So, School of Tantra, that sounds interesting.
Okay. So when I met Dr. Lessin, he had a full-on Tantra school. And I met Sasha when he was teaching Tantra at, it was, what was it called?
Mount Madonna.
Mount Madonna. But we moved into Harbin Hot Springs, which got burned up in the fire 2-3 years ago. But anyway, it was a great place where you could go into the woods and hot springs, and people would go there, and we focused mainly, we had singles and couples, but we like working with couples because we look at their bonding patterns, and they'll come up and they say, we're not having sex, or whatever the problem is. And so we go into their bonding patterns and see. People think it's all about sex, but it's about the relationship. So, but you want to address this one? Your turn. I'll step back.
Yeah, what I've developed is it's called all chakra tantra. The chakras allude to categories of human behavior, and to have a full-on relationship. The first chakra is the chakra for your inner child and your the parts of you that protect the inner child. For example, an example I gave, my inner critic protects my inner child and my vulnerability. So inside of a person, you need to balance your protective side and your vulnerable side. In relationship, which is also what we teach, so you take turns parenting, being taken care of in a parental way, each other. You take turns in a positive bonding pattern, or you take turns freaking each other out in a negative bonding pattern. But you learn how to do it and not be trapped in an ongoing argument once you understand that you're moving into parent and child relationship. That's the first chakra. The second chakra around your genitals has to do with your sensuality and being able to distinguish your sensuality from your sexuality, and seeing which one's appropriate for you in which situation. And in terms of working with a female, we teach women how to have ejaculatory orgasms. We teach men how to totally control their squirts so that they can prolong the pleasure. And after intromission, in average people, 4 minutes, and take women at least 10 minutes. So the next chakra, around the diaphragm area, is the power chakra. That means sometimes you're the leader and sometimes you're the follower. You're not locked in a position. You can embrace either opposite depending on the situation. And there's the heart chakra, giving and getting, being able to feel reciprocity. So that's what you need to do, giving and getting for yourself and for the other. And there's a throat chakra. There's 3 aspects. There's the ability to keep your silence and shut up when that's appropriate, or speak out when that's appropriate, and to most of all, to sing every day. Then there's the next chakra, which is the around the eye area, and that's the vision center. There's the cognitive center, the left side, the intuitive center, the right side, the ancestors, and the Akashic records and the occiput. And then the next one is the spiritual chakra. So that's the first 7 chakras. And above that is the most important one of all. Above the crown chakra is the clown chakra. Don't take it seriously. It's just a category system. However, in this category system, we teach people how to have great relationships and how to resolve their bonding patterns so that they don't have quarrels that make them unhappy all the time, or they're not sickeningly sweet so that they can't even say what's going on. That's in a nutshell. It's a little bit about Tantra.
That's beautiful. Let's see what else you got here. What's the word help me out there? My eyes are bad. Polyamory.
Well, we met each other. We met at the Polyamory conference, and I had been in monogamous relationships all my life, and they weren't working. And so when I moved to Oahu in 1993, they had this polyamory group that was starting, and I helped that. And because I was trying to figure out why do my relationships end up with infidelity, cheating. Mm-hmm. And so we were looking at what happens to human beings that they don't, most people are not monogamous, mono meaning gamous, mono meaning one, gamous meaning married. Most people do not get married or have one partner their entire lives. Very few people are truly monogamous. They're serial monogamous. And so anyway, so I was trying to figure out what was going on, because I was reeling from my second divorce, and so I was dating again, and so I said, well, maybe there's something wrong with the structure, and there's some other way to do this. And I've always been the scientist, and so I was like, anyway, so I met Sasha, and we were working with people, doing psychotherapy with couples, and couples have all kinds of relationships because we were open to the gay, lesbian, bi, trans, queer, and poly community. And we actually had swingers come too. We would work with people no matter what their gender orientation, relationship style, whatever. And so our practice was huge. We had all kinds of people. And then, of course, Tantra goes with all of them. You can be any of those and be practicing Tantra, wanting to practice Tantra. So we did that for years and years. And we did a lot of television around it and conferences around that. But when we were simultaneously doing the Anunnaki Experiencer, extraterrestrial UFO conferences. We were traveling to the UFO conferences, and it was like our lives were compartmentalized. We can't talk about this to those people, but we know everything about this. So now it's like the world's starting to be more open-minded, and we can integrate like all those sub-personalities of ours. We couldn't talk about Tantra to the UFO community. That what we know in the past 2 years, they're talking about Kundalini and spiritual awakenings and chakras. So I think the world's finally catching up to us. We've been doing it we've been together going on 23 years this year.
The critical thing in polyamory, that is having more than one person to whom you're committed in a sexual relationship, the critical thing is being able to process jealousy. And instead of thinking that jealousy is junk and you should repress it and not feel it if it's there, what we say is use it. And if the first thing is we ask, are you putting yourself down in relationship to whoever you're feeling competitive with? Oh, he or she is more rich, athletic, whatever it is, than me. It's got nothing to do with the other person. It's got to do that you want to be richer or more athletic.
Okay, Brian, crawling into the we don't go off screen. Just be where you are.
I'm sorry, I get distracted.
You get excited. Get back.
It's quite all right. I don't even notice. I'm just listening.
So what you develop is compersion, which is the opposite of jealousy, which is you enjoy another person's joy. And I bring it back down to, if you have kids and your kid that you just love to bits has a friend, you're not jealous of that. Or if you have more than, it's like you enjoy the fact that your kid's having fun. Well, that's how it is with us polys. We like it when the people that we're involved with are enjoying themselves. The form of polyamory that Janet and I practice, we're we were both present when we were with our various lovers, and so that nothing went on outside of each other's view. And if somebody has feelings, we process them on the spot. Jealousy, if you use it right, is a chance to really find out what you need to reprogram so you can feel good about yourself.
That sounds like an easy way to trigger a lot of people.
Yeah.
Dealing
But
with the jealousy of all that.
Yeah, we haven't been really active in the poly community because we were active in the UFO field. But the other day, a friend of mine, he said, "Oh, my daughter has 2 husbands." I go, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, she lives in the East Coast, and they have what, 8 children." They're like, there's another woman. I go, "Wow, I didn't know." So you don't know what effect you have on the world. So you plant a seed, and then you come back 20 years later. It's like, wow, so these people are actively living it. Now, I never could get it to work that way, to live in community.
Oh
But there
yeah.
are a lot of people that, and this isn't polygamy, or like the Mormons. This is equal. Everybody's equal partnership. They're all partners and they're all equal. It's not a matriarchy or patriarchy. It's a partnership. Everything's balanced. So anyway, and now you see we have the gay marriages, so that's part of it as well. And it's all activism for people, and it connects with the extraterrestrials. See, I work with extraterrestrials. I've had experiences. I go to council meetings, and they are not monogamous. We're trying to put their moral values and their how they relate, and some of them don't even have genitals like we do, and some of them might be hermaphroditic type species, and they mate and copulate and they partner, and we've got to be open minded about all things: race, gender, sex, what people look like,
worldviews and everything.
On everything, because we're going to meet these extraterrestrials, and if we go in there with our closed little narrow-minded and we're judging everybody as sinful or bad or evil because they're not doing life the way we do, we're going to be in big trouble. So that's how it's all integrated and related to each other, and so that's my life.
Okay, now I'm interested in, I think this is for you, Janet. Ninmah.com, is that someone you channel or a connection you have? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I identify as Ninmah, the goddess Ninmah. I did some past life regressions in my life, and one of the things I accessed was where I was basically Ninmah, and I was going up the temple steps and getting my mission to come to the earth.
Is that an Anunnaki, or is it?
Yeah, Ninmah is the mother creator goddess who was a geneticist that figured out the formula that would work, that would create Homo sapiens. So before that, they had all these experiments. You see the Minotaurs and Centaurs. They were trying to figure out which species to use to make a worker race, and so they were looking at the Homo erectus. The Bigfoot, Sasquatch, as the basic species that they would put DNA. They can hybridize and add DNA, and they could add some Anunnaki. So they're basic geneticists, just like we are now. We're doing the same thing. So Ninmah was the master geneticist, and she had a team of Enki and her nephew Nigashita, also named Thoth, and so they couldn't figure out how to make it work. So they were, they would have this baby and it couldn't hold his urine, right? So it's like that wasn't going to work. Peeing everywhere. They couldn't talk, so they kept experimenting, and so she figured that it had to go into an Anunnaki woman, and they tried putting it into the Homo erectus women. It came out, not working quite right, and so when they made that decision, Enki came in and said, "Here, use my wife Damkina," and she said, "No, this is my experiment. It may be dangerous. So I'm going to put it inside my womb and carry it." So there's a cuneiform rendition of her holding out this baby, and she said, "With my hands I had created it." And so but God is now, a man. They take credit for it. So she's the goddess, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. And I identify with her, but she's also known as a peacemaker. So her brothers were Enki and Enlil, which we know them as, Yahweh and Lucifer, and sometimes the other
Yaldabaoth, and there's a bunch, isn't there?
Yeah, Satan is the guy who lost the battle. That's all it is. It's like that's one of, and then now Marduk has a child. Anyway, so we've been tracking down on these people, but she would always get in the middle and say, "No, no, no, we've got to have peace." She had children by both of her brothers, and that was a practice. That's the other thing the humans judge. Incest. Oh my God, the Anunnaki. That's all they do is they mate with their half sibling, right, or it's a close cousin or something. Sasha wants to say
Well,
something.
I think there's one thing important to know about the original Adam and Eve 300,000 years ago. Enki had fomented a mind mutiny. What are you doing, Janet?
I'm trying to get to so it won't fall over. Okay, there we go. Go ahead, keep going.
The Anunnaki came here for gold so they could ship it back to their planet and turn it to white powder of monoatomic gold and shield the planet, which had a hole in its ozone, partly from their thermonuclear wars. Before they unified the planet. And so that there were miners that came from Nibiru, worked in mines for decades, deep in the Southeast African mines. And they were, and Enlil kept cutting, Yahweh kept cutting down their beer rations and asking for more work. And they were really, and they were getting frantic. They thought they were going to be heroes. And then they're stuck in this dark hole without any chicks. And so, and so Enki said, "Hey boys, I'm going to get you off the hook. I'm developing these. I've got a solution. Now, what I want you to do is hold back the gold shipments, and Yahweh will send his son Ninurta to see what's going on, and then he'll come too." So that's what happened. They stopped shipping so much gold. The boss. What is it, honey? God.
Keep jumping it. See this thing? You're cutting off your head. I'm getting you in screen. Stop it.
Okay, so what happened is the miners surrounded Enki or Enlil and Ninurta's house they were staying in, and they set fire to their tools, and they said, "We ain't doing this no more." And they're ready to. But they're having to fight Ninurta, who's this incredible warrior with all kinds of weapons. And actually, he would just mow the miners down. Enki steps in. He said, "Wait, you don't have to do this. I've got the solution. Here's this humanoid here that the extraterrestrials placed from the Council of Hatona, which was a long time before the Anunnaki arrived here. Anyway, here's Homo erectus. He's telepathic. He lets other animals out of traps. Wow, we could use some compassion. We are so hierarchical and competitive. If we had some of his traits, it would be good. He seems to have immunity to the diseases here. And I'll make him smart enough to obey us, but not smart enough to overthrow us." And Enlil says, "No way, it's illegal to make slaves." And Ninurta says, make machines, not slaves. You're such a great maker of things. And they come back to Nibiru, and the king of Nibiru says, "Hey, we got to save the planet. Heck with I know it's against the rules of the Federation, but make the slaves, save our planet, save me." And so Enki goes ahead with the experiments. Actually, it wasn't just Ninmah who made the great discoveries. Enki's son Ningishita also found out that there was a gene missing. There was only 21, and that he figured out how to make the female, but she wasn't pregnant yet. And he as well as Ninmah contributed to the science, and he's one of the greatest scientists ever. But that's a little bit of the story. Then about 100,000 years later, in 200,000 BCE, things were getting bad, and some of the miners, now they made clone miners. They weren't supposed to be get pregnant, but sure enough, the first Tiamat, the first Eve, did indeed get pregnant while she was taking some of the fruit of the tree of life, which was a psychedelic tree, probably mimosa or something, with dimethyltryptamine, DMT, in it. And so she had a enlightenment experience when she was with Adam. And when Enlil, the commander, saw this little girl, and she was doing math and making clothes and doing all kinds of stuff, he said, "Get this critter out of here! Gosh, they're not supposed to have her go breed in Africa." And so they did. So for 100,000 years, they were working the mines. Everything was working fine. And then times got bad, and the miners started saying, What are we getting this yellow crap out of the ground for? Let's go in the bush and catch some things. And they formed their own African societies. And there was minor revolts and so forth. So the boss, Yahweh says to Enlil, to Enki, he's called Adonai in the Bible, incidentally. Listen, make better slaves that will obey us and won't go off in the bush. He said, oh, I know how to do that. So he found some really pretty ones. And that's when he made the second Adam and Eve. And then he went and had a child with the second Eve, too. Her name was Titi. And that was Cain, who later on gets shipped to South America. Anyway, so it's a little, but I want you to understand that the first boy that came out of Ninmah, out of her womb, he had brownish red skin. He had kinky black hair, and he was just like an Anunnaki man, except he had a foreskin. They lack a foreskin. Later on, Yahweh had people in his group cut off their foreskin so they would look like him. But in any case, the first boy was brown with kinky hair and brown eyes. The first girl, which this one was put in Enki's wife, Damkina, was a blonde, blue-eyed girl, sandy blonde girl. So from the get-go, our race is both black and white. That's how it is.
That's interesting. You know, I was watching, I think it was Sarah Westall, and she had a Vatican translator on there, and he was spilling the beans about like some of the original text in the Bible and how it was manipulated, because it talked about things like genetic manipulation, some of the things that Sitchin covered a long time ago, and they've been covering this up for a long time. So they've evidently known about it all along, and they've just been hiding it. Are you guys familiar with with that?
What's
Sarah Westall is the YouTuber. I can't think of the guy's name. He didn't speak English though. He spoke Latin or Italian or something.
Her
But
name again? Sarah?
Sarah Westall. I think it's Westall. I want to say it was the beginning of 2018 when he was on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to
Like
check her out.
February. Yeah, but it was like a 3-part series, and he was explaining how, they were pretty much what you guys talk about, genetic manipulation, and, and they've just covered it up all along. But, yeah, the church has known about it all along.
Part of the way that the cover-up wasn't just in almost all the religions are based on the idea of controlling people and so forth, and having people locked into a hierarchy. Buddha, and then 500 years later, Jesus said, "Hey, these systems suck. We don't need to give all these guys bucks. We could have spiritual experiences." But for the Anunnaki religions, it was all this authority stuff. And
yeah, he was a rebel, wasn't he, to the system?
Oh, absolutely. He, they had set him up to be a martyr, but he was way smarter than that, and he spent his whole life trying to overthrowing the system. Of course, it got subverted once the Romans got hold of it. But the direct teachings of the Buddha and of Jesus are direct spiritual experiences, respect for other consciousnesses. Both of them said, all beings should be honored and respected. Just the thing that any spiritual person would tell you. Now,
That's so true. Yeah, and he called them hypocrites. He didn't hang out with the religious leaders, and I realized at some point I was like, wow, stuff really hasn't changed that much, has it?
No,
you know what I mean? They
hijacked
hijacked his message and twisted it into something else, basically.
Yes, I agree totally. That's what happened. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what do you guys want to talk about? Any events or anything you got coming up anytime soon?
Well, we're kind of home finishing up some books right now. We're talking about going out this fall, perhaps. So there's a couple conferences, but we normally travel everywhere in the summer, make the circuit, but it took some time off for ourselves this year. But we're active. We keep doing the broadcasts. We put a conference on this time last year. No, in October. I'm not going to do one this year unless I have people wanting me to do one, but it's like, I think we'll wait till 2020. So we're going to gear up again in 2020. I want to remind everybody, Contact in the Desert is this weekend coming up. And that's one of the big ones. If you're in the area or you can afford to fly across the country, I highly recommend that one. And then in the fall, in September, is going to be the UFO Congress. That's the other big one. We might make it to that one. And that's they moved to Phoenix. So support your local ET, UFO, super soldier, secret space program, whatever you want to call it, paranormal conferences, because we are creating a grand awakening and taking us to the next level. And we need everybody. I mean, nobody's more important than anybody else, right? We're all in this together, and we need to all wake up. It's like pieces of a giant puzzle. And what do you see when there's a missing piece of the puzzle? Your eyes drawn to the missing piece. So we want to have everybody included, so this puzzle is connected. We have all the dots connected. And, together we can create this new paradigm. I know it looks bad right now with all the political bull crap.
Yeah,
but,
it's all distractions.
They're all just course corrections. Yeah. Sasha, you want to say something?
Well,
closing words?
So in 311 BCE, Thoth left and Yucatan, and he's coming. He basically said, "We're coming back. Galzu has sent us." Prince Marduk has said he is wishes to make amends for the pain and suffering he's caused of pitting us against each other. The whole idea of the Anunnaki and their religions and their nations and their getting us in debt is to pit us against each other and not realize that they are, especially Prince Marduk, Satan, is controlling everything through his hybrids that work for him. And as long as there's a hierarchy and we never realize that we're all one and we're being exploited by them, we never get free. But now Galzu has come back, Enki's come back. It's time for the age of Aquarius. They are pledged, and they say Jesus is with them too, that they are going to make sure that we have a planet of peace. It can happen. We're right on the verge. And just listen to Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, and you'll see the way.
You're funny.
Shout out to Shiny Roberts, you just mentioned Contact in the Desert. She is going to be reporting live there for us, so that's exciting. That's coming up.
Oh, yeah.
So what's before you go, I got to ask you about the planet Nibiru. Is that coming around again, or what's? What?
Absolutely, it's been here. Lots of people have photographed it from the Soho camera that anybody can access. When the sun goes down, you can see two suns, and if you had a pretty good telescope that anybody could buy, and you put welder's glass in front of it so it wouldn't blot out, you'd get more than one sun. And if you look closely, you'd see there's all kinds of little moons going around it. It's come and gone in terms, but it's kind of complicated, but basically the time and space frame was moved by our extraterrestrial friends to preserve the Earth and protect us. And we've passed through that. You still might be able to see Nibiru. It shows on the infrared, and so does the primary it goes around, which is Nemesis, which is a full-on planet. It's all there.
Yeah, this is a twin star configuration. We have it's a binary system. Yeah, so it was coming through. It was on a negative course that would have caused a catastrophic event, but apparently they were aware of it, so they FaceTime shifted us into. It's hard to explain. We were going over that on one of our shows recently, how that happened, and so I had some experts explaining what they did. It was part of this group with A.R. Borden, and so we're out of the danger zone. So no, we're not going to have Planet X destroying the Earth, and those people that wanted that to happen. Nah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
So the threat is come and gone. The planet's come and gone.
It's not just Earth. It's all the inner planets are heating up quite a bit. As Nemesis grows closer, because it's a great big burning body, and our pollution, of course, is the worst of all. It causes about 15% of the global changes, but the other ones are done by stuff that we're doing, that humans are doing, that we could stop doing if we had the will and we stopped investing our money in inheritances to people who never work a day of their life.
Yeah. Okay. Don't get us started. So you got to clean up the planet. I mean, it doesn't matter. You got to clean up your bedroom. You got to clean up the planet. You just got to clean up wherever you are. Clean it up.
Amen to that. So
Amen.
you guys, when's your next broadcast? Aquarium Radio.
Let's see. What is today? Today's
Monday.
Monday.
Tuesday.
Tomorrow, 8 to 10 Eastern. Who do we have? I forget. I have an
8 to 10 p.m.
8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. We on Revolution we set our clocks all to the Eastern zone because we have 90 some what do you call it, hosts on Revolution Radio from all over the world. They broadcast 24/7. They have two stations, station A and B. So we all set our clocks to the Eastern time. So we have I forget which experiencer. I've got a lot of experiencers that have contacted me and they're ready to tell their stories. It's just amazing. There are literally hundreds of them. And they find me, and like, if you want to come on, aquarianradio@gmail.com, just write to me and I'll get you on. And then, and I don't have my calendar here. So I book people 2-3 months in advance. I book out. And so I'm just at it all the time. I mean, I'm going to do it as long as I can.
And people can tune into aquarianradio.com to actually listen to the broadcast? Okay, I do have that link below.
I think there depends on where I'm broadcasting. If I'm going to do it on my own platform, I have a Spreaker platform, I have a Blog Talk platform, I have a YouTube. Just it depends on where we're going to broadcast. But the all the links are on there. I archive it, and you can find me everywhere. You know, we're doing a lot of outreach and we're promoting, and we're here to change the planet. I mean, it really is time. It's not working the way it is. We want to make it work. It's either working or it's not working for most people. Having 100,000 living in the streets in Los Angeles is not working.
Sure isn't.
Out how to do this. You know, if we get all the technologies in disclosure, we'll have cures for all diseases. We'll have extreme longevity, if not physical immortality. We'll have clean green energy systems. We'll be able to clean up the oceans and all the planet in a very short time. And actually what they're finding, if you get out there and you do reforestation, so wherever you live, go plant trees. Get your people together and replant that forest that got clear cut for some bullshit, whatever, mining.
Or burn up or something, yeah.
Yeah, start planting wherever you are, and that is actually cutting down the CO2 carbon print, devastation. That, and then we have to get off of fossil fuels. And so there are people behind the scenes that I'm working with that are negotiating to get off fossil fuels. But basically, whoever they are, the power elite, the Illuminati, they sold us down the river. They're planning to get off planet. They're not even going to do the underground dumps. They're going to go off planet, and you know, they've sold this prime real estate to some other species, and that's why they're terraforming the planet. So we've got to, I don't know, somehow humanize these people. There's 6 degrees of separation. And everybody knows somebody, you know, there's somebody that knows Elon Musk, there's somebody that knows Zuckerberg, there's somebody that sits down and has dinner and, you know, takes care of their kids. So we have to reach that human part of ourselves and just work with the people in our world. And there's 6 degrees of separation. You're going to get to all of them. And, you know, the Anunnaki fell in love with their little Lulus. We were called the Lulus. And they fell in love with us and they started to breed with us. So we're very lovable. And we want to live too. And don't leave us behind, and don't terraform us into extinction. You know, and we got to do that with our animals too. You know, love our animals, stop hunting them, stop killing them. I mean, do something besides going over to Africa and killing one of the last remaining giraffes. I mean, what is with that? You know, and if you know somebody's doing it, just say, what is with that, man? You need some psychotherapy here. You know,
love the animals. Stop killing them.
Yeah. There's very few of them left, you know, so knock it off. Yeah. Okay. What else? Anything else you want to cover?
That is it. I really appreciate you.
Disappeared.
Oh, did I disappear? I'm still here. We can see you. I do want to thank you guys for coming on, Sherry. Thanks for getting them on here.
Yeah,
Awesome.
they're awesome. There's so much they could talk. They could come on a lot and never run out of subjects to talk about.
Hmm.
Whenever you want to talk, call us. We
And
like to.
I'm excited because I think on the 13th I'm gonna be on her show, right?
Yeah.
Janet, yep. So I'm
Awesome.
looking forward to that.
Yeah, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun. Yeah. We're gonna go more into your story. Who is Sherry?
Is that's in June, June 13th?
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to come on
Oh,
another?
Thursday, June 13th. Awesome. So, yeah, I'll remind everybody then, too. That'd be awesome.
Sherry, if she wants him to.
Well, thank you guys for coming on here. Lots of love and light to everybody in the
Yeah,
chat.
you can come on.
Everybody, thank you for listening.
Aloha.
Hey, love all y'all.
Yeah, aloha.
Go watch Lilo and Stitch, you guys.
All right, peace, you guys.
Peace out.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.